Got a nice Montana high country in here. This is a good looking coach. So I got to go up there and take a look. We're taking a look at the slides right now, the roofs, and then one of the guys had mentioned that it didn't look so well. So I want to go up there and take a look at that. That's why we got it all opened up right now. So let's go see what's going on. All right, let's see what we got. Wondering what's causing that. There isn't any here. There's nothing back there. It looks like the roofing is kind of loosened up there. I don't know how long that's going to last. So we like to check the tape right here. Looks like another one's starting right here. You can see somebody's already, look at all that caulking they tried to put on there, and then these lines, they just show up. I guess it's just the way it wore. Weird. Yeah, that it wore. So I've cut them open before, and there's nothing underneath it to cause it. It's just that's just a seam, and it happens. If there's nothing underneath there to give it strength, then we found that it'll just leave those marks on there. But so let's check this other one down here. This one looks worse. Get under this cord. Oh yeah, this one is terrible. Wow, that's definitely going to be a ripper right here. So, all right. Well, we're going to get these figured out, see what the customer wants to do. There's one more on the other side too. All three of them are like that, so I don't know if he wants to replace them or just move on or put some tape on it. And look at all the debris up underneath there. Wow. See all the debris on that AC there? Looks like a bird's nest. Like literally it looks like a bird's nest. We're going to find out when we take them off. I'll go over the roof here afterwards, but I just wanted to come up here and show that. And when we close all this up and everything, I'll show you some stuff about, those fake vents and everything else. Alright, so we have got our metal roof on here. That's what this is. Okay. So the other thing we did is we changed out these screws. So this is all sealed. We changed those screws out because the other ones, they sit proud and they start to aggravate the sweep gasket. So we got them on all three slides. We also omitted that rail that goes along here. And the advantage to omitting that is when water comes down, a lot of folks will have issues where water will come down and then it'll trickle back in to the coach on there. So we removed that. So we're trying to get the roofing off. We'll get all that off here in a minute. You can see some of the way they booger bobbed it all, and I'll get all the scaffold put together proper and we'll get this thing going. The other thing we're probably going to do is, if you look at the way this gasket is, you can see it's folded the wrong way. So I'm going to put some trips on here. And the trips, basically, they're some plastic pieces. So now when the gasket comes out, it'll trip the right way to go in and go out. So it's always keeping that. I noticed it on the sides were folded the wrong way, and I don't want water to get in there. Now these sweep gaskets aren't necessarily a waterproof, but they do discourage water. So we'll put it that way, they discourage water. But being rolled in that way, yeah, it would be better if it was in the proper position. So on some of these slides, we have this is silicone. This is why I say don't use silicone. And I'm gonna show you how you can tell if you have silicone. Sometimes you'll look at this and you'll say, hey, it's silicone. It could be a clear urethane, it could be a terpolymer. There's a lot of different products, different polymers. But one of the ways you can tell on silicone, and I'm going to see if you can hear this. You can hear it. And that noise, when you hear that noise, that means it's failed. So this is like a form of a plastic. This stuff doesn't stick to plastic. These panels here, this Phylon and everything, this is a plastic that is reinforced with fiberglass. So this one here feels actually like aluminum, but nonetheless, the finish on it, the finish is not allowing this to bond. So the other issue I have with these rails, and there was one on the top like I was trying to explain, is when the water comes down, it can actually start traveling back this way into the coach right through here. I really like that. So we're going to see if we can modify that maybe a little bit without, you know, making it a big ordeal. But nonetheless, that's the issue with the silicone. So, you know, all of this looks like has silicone. Now this one, you can't hear that. And I'm putting some friction on here. You can see right here it's failed. So these are some of the things you want to look for, even around your, like your back lights. Around the molding here. Once you start putting some friction on it and it breaks free, then it's failed. So I'm not a fan of silicone on a coach at all, but it would take a lot of work to dig all of this out. My concern right now is just to try to make sure we don't have any water traveling back in there, if I can fix that. So a lot of these slide out floors, they'll rot, and people are like, how are they rotting out? How are they rotting out? So I'm going to show you on this one over here. So I already showed you about the caulking right here. Also, none of the windows are sealed. No windows sealed. There's nothing on there. But anyhow, on here, you can see how all that's loose. This one does wrap around. See, it makes a corner on this slide. This is the bedroom slide. Over on this one, this piece is right here. That's it. It doesn't return under. So what happens, you can see it stops right here. And that's the underbelly. And I don't know, let's see if I can get my flashlight. But you can start to see how that's getting all frayed right in here. Let's see if I can get that light there. Trying to finagle all this. Right here. You can even see wood right there. Water's going to trickle down. It's going to rot this out. Right here. So we got to take that off. It's only got one roller. There's one here. It's got two rollers. One here. One way down the other end. Really should have more than that. But it is what it is right now. So if we don't straighten this out, he's going to be back for a floor. And he lives in this. So we're going to just see if we can remedy that right now, because this is all fine. All it is right here. I'm going to see if I can fabricate something. All right, what we got here, this is a piece of 16 gauge galvanized steel. So rounded the corners and then countersunken. So when you put our screws in, they're nice and flush. So we did, this is, what we did is got it up underneath here. And some people would call these a ski. Let's see if I can get this camera around. There you go. So you can see now the roller is rolling on it instead of the floor, and I covered that spot that was over here. I got another piece that's going to come down and it's going to dress this out. So I'll show you that. But now we don't have to worry about it. Just save the guy from having to put a floor on this thing. Alrighty, so here's our Montana, and here's your typical put more on type roof. You can see someone's already tried to slobber that around a couple of times. Wow, that is soaked. That is absolutely soaked. Go see the other side. You know, you look at some of these roofs, like if you were to look at this, I like to point this out. And I do this to show why we do the roofs we do. You look at this roof as a rule, and you go around, you're knocking on it, right? You probably wouldn't know, even that sounds good, but just that tiny little area is funky. But the average guy who does those spray and roll-ons will go, hey, you know what? Don't worry about it. We can roll this. We can spray this. You're going to spray over all this rot? Wow. That'd be just a shame. It'd be an absolute waste of money. So that's why we take the whole roof up. That's one reason. I want to know what's underneath this. That's also this OSB. This is junk. Let's get rid of it. We want to check all the duct lines. We want to check the electrical. We want to check trusses. We want to check the insulation. So if I've got water over there, then do I have water on the insulation? Is it wet? We want to find that out. So if that looks, I I know they have those spray machines and everything else. When I did commercial work, I had all that stuff, and I know they're expensive. Those machines probably run, I don't know, close to 30 grand. And like I said, we had them when we were doing big roofs, recoveries for like metal roofs and so on and so forth. I would just go buy the machine if it worked right. I have no problem with that. I just don't think it's the right application or the right way to do it, especially on a camper. These things are riddled with issues. So, you know, just trying to cover it up and put lipstick on a pig, that don't work, because then you're going to have more problems. So let's see what we get. But like I said, this is your basic roof. They want you to keep slobbering more on there. They make over $1 billion a year selling all this maintenance product. So that's why they're not going to fix it. If that stuff worked, I don't know if it's actually Guide Core or Alpha or whatever it is, but if that self-leveling worked, why do you have to keep putting it on? It should be good. It's the only, you know, self-leveling stuff that I've ever seen, or exterior caulking, I'll say, that is designed for exterior use and can't even much last more than about a year if you're lucky, you know. So, and that's a shame, because all the products I use, we don't have that issue. It's not like we have when we do free inspections and have customers come back, we're not recalking anything. All we're doing, we're inspecting it, but we're not recalking anything. We never had to. So, all right, let us take that up. That air conditioner is mounted with what's called a compression fitting. So inside there's like a vent cover. Pull that down. That's how that one is. This one over here, though, this one is secured right to the roof with bolts that go right through the frame, and that's what those holes are for. So all they do is put them in there, and then when they get them in there, they just booger some more of that self-leveling crap on there. That's a fake vent. That vent doesn't work, and I'll show you why. So let's see if where's the. All right. So here's the refrigerator right here, and then down there, people think it's just an access panel. It's not. It's for ventilation. That does a cycle. That's how ventilation works. It needs a lower draw to pull up. So let's see if I can do this left-handed. Here's your house. Maybe not your house. You may have a ridge vent up here. You may even have louver vents right here. Maybe another louver vent so the air can come up. You're going to have a soffit vent right here, and you're going to have a soffit vent right here, and that's how the air would move. That's how it works. So on your house, if you don't have soffit vents, these don't work. It has to have that lower draw. Those are useless. This is just another scam from the industry saying, hey, we vented your roof, it's going to stay cooler. No, it's not. It doesn't work. Thermogenically, it cannot work. So there's one there, there's another one up there, and obviously we're just going to omit them. Now, if it had over here on the side, if it had a way for air to get up inside there and the insulation was down a little bit and it had a trough where it could evacuate some of that hot air, sure, but it doesn't. So there's just no way it can vent. It's impossible. It isn't going to happen. And I've heard some people say, well, you know, these campers aren't airtight and da-da. You got it all blocked up with insulation and everything. I mean, that's, you're really overreaching to try to think that those are going to be productive or work or even worth anything. But if you do have one and it's broke, obviously you need to replace it or cover it or whatever. And when you do look them up, it will say it's a roof vent, but it does zero. So let's get this apart here, because I'm real eager to see how bad that insulation is on that other side over there. So you can see all the debris that gets up underneath the air conditioner, and all that dirt will dry out the gasket. So now I'm just curious now if there's any damage to the decking. They're just going to cut a piece out, and the same with this. Look at all that debris. So that's not good for the gasket. That's why you need curbs to elevate them. New flat bar. New flat bar. Well, that's pretty common. You can see that right there. So that was probably not as bad. Looks like some water stain on it, but that one, obviously that's a leak right there. Now that's yucky. Look at all that water. Wow, that thing's leaking. So you say that self-leveling doesn't work. That's why we don't use it. You can just see how wet it is. Yep. It's a good thing we were tearing it off. I'm sure that's why you brought it here. Well, let's see what we got. A little bit right here. So it was the decking itself was mainly bad. So at least that, well, that one over there did reach into that piece. So that rot that we had observed earlier. But otherwise, these ones got some water stain. That one doesn't look too bad. This one you can't even notice. So that's a plus. This is where we saw a lot of that damage. This is soaked. You can see how it's still sticking everything. That's how you know it's soaked. Ah. Sounds good. Doesn't sound soft. It's just wet. Got some D-lam on the ceiling right here. That's what this is. But you get a lot of this sopping wet insulation. So we're gonna get this all cleaned up. We're gonna spray it with some mold kill and take care of that. Some of this is just water stain. But that mold kill we use, it'll kill it. It's it will suffocate the mold spores. So then the next thing we're going to be looking for is those duct lines. That's it. Once we pull all this insulation out, once we get it all out, then we're going to be looking for the duct work. Yeah, got one more piece up here we got to go. There it is, sitting on our Jazzy fork truck. So we want to see if these trunk lines are all taped up. Often we find them, they're not. Or they're loose. They're taped, but they're just breached, like this one right here. Right there. We got to tape that up. And these are like 4 foot a piece, 54 inches or so. So next one probably got, here's another one right here. See? Wow, that's a good one. That one's breached really well. And then like I said, we're going to check for the wires. I want to make sure the wires aren't impinged in any way. I'm really looking for the 120 lines, which probably run back to over here in the center, down this chase wall. After I move all that, it's probably on the other side. There's one right there. All right, so right there. Oh, come on, focus in. Come on, focus in. But you can see how that's already, you can see it's compromised. It's got a little scar on it. That really should have a bushing in it. Putting a bushing in that is actually code. It's residential code and it is a commercial code. Look at the way that wire twists all up like that. I really like that. But inside that metal piece you're looking at, that conduit, that's called a ferrule. And the inside of that is sharp. So you can imagine this thing moving around. Obviously the wire is going to move around inside that ferrule. And then that's how you get that sheathing right there is the white part. That's what's getting scored. So I want to make sure that it is not worse. So that's what we're going to be looking for, things like that. And when I say they won't put one more red cent into these campers, those little bushings we put in, they're about a penny. And they're not going to put them in. So we'll pull all the other stuff apart too. Okay. that one too. So all this bouncing, they just put one lick on there, and they just use that cheap tape. That's why they break apart. So let's go back to when we first started. The roof itself, I mean, we saw we had some issues there, but overall the roof looked pretty good. If you had all this sprayed, or if you had it rolled on, whichever one you want to do, if somebody wanted to do that, how are you going to fix these? So your air is blowing all this cold air up into the basically, if you want to call this the attic area, and that one's pretty good. That's a pretty good crack in itself. So how do you fix it? Are you going to rip up the roof? You're going to tear out the ceiling? What are you going to do? And you also have to find it. And a lot of people say, you know, I can, you know, we've done other ones. These aren't the worst ones I've ever seen by no means. It's actually, these are pretty typical. I've seen some that are really bad. But now someone's running their air and they go, oh, my air conditioner isn't blowing good. It must be a blower motor. It might be this. And you get some guy, a tech, who's looking to, you know, make a couple extra bucks off you, and he charges you whatever, $1,500 a unit. Yeah, replace them both, and it doesn't solve the problem. Now you're out all that money, and really what it was like I said, it was ductwork. And you know, now you're, and it's not going to keep the cabin that cool. Here's another one, right here. See, so I'm going to check. That one's got a little tiny crease in it, but that's not terrible. I mean, like I said, I've seen worse than that. We did I believe it was a Sierra. I know it's on our YouTube channel, on this channel, the YouTube channel. And that one there was so bad, it actually tore all that sheathing off. It was that bad. So it's a good thing we caught it, because, you know, it could have been on its last leg, and then the thing, the wire breaks. And when the wire breaks, it's going to be like, hey Joe, all 20 line ain't working. Like, yep, that's what happens. So it looks like we got a couple of those ferrules to put in so far. We'll know more when we get the insulation out, and then we just got to tighten up these say it, Joe, ductwork. It's just foam. That's all they are. They're just foam. So, all right. Well, we shall get busy and get the rest of this crap out, inspect all this, spray it down, and all that stuff, and actually see how bad this damage is, and see what we can do to clean everything up. All right, so we've got everything straightened away in our Montana. Look at this nonsense right here. So we're going to put a plate on that. The other thing we did, we're going to put a gutter on the back, but in order to put the gutter on the back, there's nothing to screw it to. See, the truss is open right here. It's all open. So what we did is we filled it in and glued it in. So now we got something solid to screw the gutter to. So we got all that, and then we went around and made sure things were nice and sealed up. Did all the ACs. We taped these up so they don't rub into the foam ductwork. So we got all that. Just got these wires to kind of stay secure, because they'll bounce around and then they dig into the foam ductwork. And then all of this got cleaned up real well. We mold killed it. It's all dry, so that come out real well. And this is a ductwork that we have for the ventilation. Here's your skylight, and then there's an inner lens. So you got one here, and you got one here, and you got a gap in there. Now when you get into especially in the cooler season, you know, where it's like spring, winter, and so forth, where you get some frost or dew on top of the lens, up underneath on the inside this way on that lens, you still have the same frost and dew. So now the sun comes up and it'll warm it up. When it warms all that up and evaporates the top side, what's up underneath, it cannot get evaporated out. So basically it diffuses back to condensation, and it'll drool down the lens, and it can cause dry rot. So we don't want that to happen. So what this is all about is we're going to put a intake right here, and then there's going to be a solar power fan right here. So the air, when the sun comes up, that fan is going to kick on, and when it does that, it's just going to keep this cycle of air going through to keep that moisture out, and you don't have to monitor it. So you can see we taped all that up. I was showing you. So we got everything all taped up, and then we made sure all these wires are down. I want to make sure they're all down, you know. So we, like over here, we zip tied a set together to keep them down. We don't want to have a staple go through them. So we got that, and then, you know, we put all the bushings in here to protect the wires. I showed you that on the other one. So we went around and did all of that. So now the last thing we're going to do is we got to get it, obviously get insulation in here. So we got to put it all back. So we vacuumed everything up, cleaned it all up nice. Like I said, everything's been mold killed. So we got all that done, and we're probably going to add just a little bit of insulation in here, and obviously replace what's been damaged. So you can see, like I said, all the redheads. You know, that's what they're basically, I call them redheads. They're just little bushings. So they're all in here. And there's quite a few. Let me turn the camera around. Hopefully I won't make you all dizzy. You can see another one right in here somewhere. Right there. Another one. So we want to make sure they're all protected. Get another plate here to protect these wires, which is going to go here, like that. And that's about us. So we're ready to get this all put back together, get it decked, and we're going to glue the decking down. Everything gets glued. If you notice, it's not glued down. And if you notice right on here, and these are some of the things I like to bring out. This is why we do what we do. So look on here. You see any staple lines? There's a staple. But look at that one there. So you can see they staple that. They don't staple every single one of these. Not only that, they don't glue it. So now when this thing racks and twists and flex and moves around, all that energy is going to go somewhere. It goes to the fasteners. When the fasteners loosen up, then you start getting leaks. So, and this will, when you glue it together, help keep the structure tighter. That's for sure. It needs to be glued. They don't want to spend the money. They don't want to spend the money to glue anything down. But, so, that's what we're going to do. Here's another truss. No staples. So it looks to me like they skipped. They just skipped it off. And I wouldn't say it's a keystone thing. We see it all the time. This is just a good example. So even here, no staples. Oh, no. Yeah, there's one. There's one. Other than that, there's nothing else in there. So they need to, you can see on this one it has some. See the holes? So it's kind of like either they missed it, they weren't paying attention, you know, nothing here. But anyhow, so you get the point. So like you said, we fixed up all the duct work, right? We got all that. We got a plate over there because that bundle won't come down, so we put a plate on it, see? Because we can't get that down anymore. Sometimes I wish they'd run these wires a little better so they don't tax the duct work like they do. So otherwise, again, we are ready to rock and roll and get this thing decked. All right, now we're getting the decking on. We got everything glued. Not only do we glue it down, we glue it, each sheet gets glued together. And then we're loading it up with some staples. You definitely don't want to put screws in here on these because you're going to split this. So we're just putting it all down. Then, you know, we've got our glue. All you need is subfloor adhesive. Doesn't matter. That's what we're doing, gluing it all down. The other thing we did is we added some more insulation. This fit fine here, but up inside we added more up underneath all that. So you can see some of the blowing in. We just added some more into it. And it didn't need very much, just needed some here and there. And then, let's see, let's go with the other side. Well, we get our Montana roof on, and we put on some new edge protection strips here, the shoulders. Those are glued and fastened down. So you know, even though we put them down there, you know, a lot of people or a lot of the manufacturers just staple them. We actually glue them down. We got our strips that go across. This is where the obviously the plywood comes together. Sometimes the trusses aren't exactly even, so we just clean them up and put that on there. Just take some of the sin or the curse out of the abruptness, maybe, if there's a difference. But generally we'll go back and sand them down if they look really bad. But I want them to look clean, even though obviously watertight and clean at the same time. So we've already got this passenger side, we've already got it already rolled out and glued down. So you can see all the glue we got on here. Now we're going to roll this one over, and then we can get to start putting the vents and everything on here. So we're coming to the conclusion of this. So we got a little bit left, get the curbs, weld them all together, we got to get the gutters on and so forth. So alright, we get the gutter on this side right here, but then when we come around on this side, we already got the insert trim in, but I wanted to show you that every one of these screws, we used a clear on this because I can't get a tan to match that, and I really didn't want to use black. Sometimes black can make a mess. But you may be able to see some of the, you can see the clear right there, but every single screw is sealed. There's a ring around every single screw, a little grommet of caulking. So now we're going to put the insert trim in those. So these are the air units, and we're just putting some bracket on the back. We're going to put some feet on there to give it some balance because it's up on the curb. But we're going to check it out, make sure it's all clean, and it's a good thing we did. Look at this. That's a big old bird's nest right there. Looks like they were chewing around the edge there. I'm guessing it's a bird's nest. No, maybe it's a squirrel nest. I have no idea. It's a critter nest, we'll call it that. Alright, we are done with our Montana. It's ready to go. We're going to send it out the door. So we got everything on here. You can see the way we did this air conditioner right here. So that's up on mounts, that's the way it should be. The way they had it is they screwed it right down through the roof deck. We had showed that, how much rot there was, how much issues we have with the way they bolted it, and all they do is just slobber with self-leveling. These are the mounting ones. This is just a balance one because it's sitting up on the curb. Any tech can follow right behind us. Any tech can follow behind us. So just keep that in mind. They can, you know, some people look at the way we put things together, and I design them because I know at some point someone may have to service those air conditioners. So now when they do, all they have to do is get a 9/16 wrench, pop that off. There's no way those are going to leak. They just can't leak. So the little boots that I made, those are all heat welded in, but also we've got these galvanized bolts that go down. There's an anchor inside there. It can't come off, can't leak. And what's loaded inside those boots is what's called a portable sealer. That's a commercial product that's been in the business and in the industry for decades. That's a time-proven system. It just works. And that's what's in these as well. Same idea, same concept. Those are just smaller, right? So there's just no way they can leak. So what we do, obviously you can see we got a tan roof on this one, and we put our little stamp on here. We do that so when the coach comes back, we like to monitor it. We like to know how old the roof is, how it's doing, how it's performing, because we offer free inspections. So they just have to come in and we'll do it. It's real simple. And the warranty on this particular roof, and unlike other companies, I don't like to just throw words out that words out like lifetime. And I've been in the general contracting and commercial construction for decades, like 40 years. So that said, I've never seen a lifetime roof ever. So all that said, this roof system is a 20-year roof system. And this is based on being outside on a commercial building with constant exposure to the elements, right? That's how they rate it. RVs don't usually see that, so let's say they're probably going to get like 25. And when they do rate it, they don't say at 20 years all of a sudden it's dead, it's failed, it's gone. That isn't the way they do it. They always yield back. So that's why I say you should be able to get 25 years out of this roof anyways. But even after that, we'll say 30 years you still have this coach, 40 years you still have this coach. You can go back with a recovery system and you can recode it. The companies make all these recovery systems for that. That's the purpose of them. So all these coatings that you're seeing on maybe some of these Facebook pages and so forth that they're advertising, they're designed for a commercial roof with curbs. That is important. You need to have the curves. That's what redirects water away from penetrations like those skylights up there, the vent and ACs and so forth, and even that antenna up there. It redirects water away from it. Same point for this right here, the same purpose. So like I said, the way we warranty it is we say, hey, come on back and we'll be glad to inspect it for free. If there's any issues, obviously we take care of it. So what we don't want to have happen is that there's something small that needs to be addressed. It turns into a hot mess. And then you go, hey, you know, I got this problem. You're like, well, I mean, that could have been caught. Because a lot of people don't come up here and look at it. But we do try to show folks how to do an inspection. They're real easy. There's virtually nothing that's going to fail that we use, but it's just smart. You know, don't take for granted that you never have to get up and ever look at anything. And I tell people that you don't have to get up here and do it, and they don't. But I will, you know, bring it back to me. We'll do it. My team will do it. So all that said, we put everything together so a tech can follow right behind us. They can do the ACs. They can do, you know, the skylights right here. You know, that's not too hard if they really had to. And you can see the way we put them on. Now this skylight is a little different than this one over here. This one's actually open. Like it's all open up inside. If you go inside there, there's a blind. So that's why it doesn't have a vent and everything, because there's nothing that's going to get trapped in there. No air is going to get trapped in moisture. It's going to be all inside. So that's why we didn't put anything on this one. But you can see that we just solely glue them down. You can see how thick that caulking is up underneath there. You want to make a gasket out of that caulking. You don't want to just put it down there and squash it down. And we don't put screws in it because they're prone to crack. So the products that we use, that's an adhesive sealant. So not only does it bond like liquid nails on steroids, it also seals. So it's a good product, expensive product, but that's what we do. We want to use the best of it. So we got all that. We got the boots up there for the plumbing. And then along the side here, we put 2 strikes of caulking on here. We use clear on this one because I couldn't find a tan that's going to quite match. And I didn't want to use a black because sometimes that black can make a mess. So we just ran it with clear. We put 2 strikes on it. And then this is an insert trim right here. Every one of these screws is sealed. I think I showed you on the other side. We seal every single screw. And then this insert trim goes in here. And you can, I'll pop this out just a little bit. Because this black is really hard to get back in. But you can see that little groove there. That little groove sits in the track and outside the track. And that's what seals and keeps all that water and moisture out of there. A lot of times, even on the other ones just snap inside. The other ones just snap inside, and you get a lot of dirt and grime and mold and all sorts of stuff inside there. It'll build up. So that's why I like this one here. So this roof system is a 20 mil commercial grade TPO. TPO means thermoplastic olefin, and that's why you can heat it up and weld it. And if you look at probably some of the way the light is hitting this, you may see some, like right in here, you can see that little bit of discoloration. That's due to the heat. It'll go away, but that's due to the heat when we heat weld it all together. So this is the skylight, and I think I already showed you how we had the ductwork running in there, and there's the solar fan. So that solar fan, hey, give me a second, will you? That thing's kind of loud. He's already trying to take it apart and get me off of here. That's a solar fan. So now when the sun comes up to, now obviously this is coming into the summer, but you know, the cooler months, you're going to have some dew. You may have some frost on here. I showed you how it gets up underneath the lens. And then it diffuses down into condensation, and then you got moisture built up. Well, that's the purpose of the fan. So when the sun comes up, that fan kicks on, and then it draws the air from here. And there's a filter up inside here, so you don't have to worry about bees or anything getting up inside here either, or getting inside the actual box in there, even though we have a piece of ductwork in there. So it'll pull the air, and it comes up and over the inner lens. There's an inner lens, so it's going in between the 2 lenses, and then it's pulling back out, right? The other thing it'll do, now even being summertime, a lot of times people say this is getting hot, this whole area. And I've known people that have put like little pieces of foam, insulation, and so forth up inside here to try to keep that heat out. Well, now you can have some, this is going to expel some of that heat buildup in there. So you can see on this other air conditioner, we did the same thing and put the same brace in the back, so that's easy peasy. Again, any tech can follow behind us. On this air conditioner over here, you can see as well, we got a little piece of counter flash right in the front. And what that's for You can see it going over there, and the purpose of it is when the rain comes down, I don't want it blowing back into, there's a foam gasket underneath there. I'm trying to protect everything. I want it to go below our counter flash. So that's one form of counter flash, and then I'll show you another, but this is the reason we want it to go down and it'll wash out. So what counter flash is right here. This is called counter flash. This is a counter flash. So built into here. So now when the water is rushing across, even right here, when the water is rushing across, it can't jump. It has to get moved around. Obviously, you'll have water coming down, but that's going to be a different effect than an erosion effect. That's washing across the roof. Two different effects going on here. So it'll come up here and it'll get diverted. The ACs, those curves that I designed, they have the same counter flash on them. So I want this counter flash that goes up underneath the cover, it's going below the one up there, so it's down lower and it'll push that water out, protecting that gasket. So we got all that, and then again, we got everything all caulk sealed and so forth. If those plumbing caps do pop off, it's not the end of the world. Obviously you want to replace them, but it's not the end of the world, because the way those are sealed, the water's just going to go right into the holding tank, and I doubt you're going to get your holding tank filled up even in the heaviest rain. So that's and this isn't coming off anyhow because it's all glued. This one over here is all glued, so it'd be a lot to pull this off. But if it did, for some reason, you hit a branch, a big branch pulls this off, you want to seal that up with some tape or whatever, just to make sure it's you know, you don't get any water in there, because it can, but it's going to be very, very hard to pop that off. This cap doesn't pop off like those. Those have these springs that pop inside the pipe. This one's all threaded down. You can see it's got threads on there, and we mounted it inside. So that's what you say. But, you know, again, if you had a big limb that was strong enough, or whatever you caught it, anything's possible. So let's see here. Now, like I said, the membrane is a 60 mil commercial grade TPO, and we have, you can see we got the tan on here, but we also have the gray and the white. There's all our information right there. And this is what's known as a structured TPO. This is a structured membrane. You can probably see some of those little squares in there. There's a mesh that's built into here that resists hail and tree branches. So, and it's real easy to repair if you, in the event you did have a tree branch come in and, you know, maybe poke a hole in it or rip it. It would be hard to rip this. I had one customer that actually had a travel trailer and tried to go through a drive-through, and that metal sign that said, you know, what, height limit 8 foot, that metal piece just got on and he kept going and it ripped it. But we were able to patch it, is my point. And you can do a hot patch on these, just like these. These are, you know, basically hot patches, the way these boots are. And that's a permanent fix. It's done. So that's about the system right there. Maintenance-wise, you can just get up here and wash it. You can pressure wash it. You can run it through a truck wash and tell them to pressure wash it. It's not going to affect this. If anybody ever had any issues, you bring it right to me and we'll take care of it. But haven't had that, but I don't take anything for granted. You know, I like to always make sure I'm doing the best I can for our customers, and I don't want anybody to ever think that we just took your money and come on back when you want to spend some more. That isn't the way our shop runs. That's why we're a small shop, because we're more focused on quality than quantity. All those other shops you see, these spray and roll-on shops and everything, they're out to sell product. That is their goal. And even these RV centers, their goal is to get them in, get them out, get them in, get them out. They've got, you know, a lot of people that they have to answer to. They got shareholders, they've got CEOs, they've got CFOs. All these people are concerned about how much we're taking in, how much we're pushing out. That's all it is, about money. And granted, you have to make money doing this, but, you know, we don't have that kind of pressure. So, you know, we use the best products because they work, and we do the best job because that's what the customer expects. So we appreciate y'all watching, and like I said, we don't sell anything here. We also don't quote on social media. So, you know, if you want any information, just give us a call. We'd be glad to you know, to tell you, you know, where we're at with it and what you have and so forth. We like to go over some issues that folks have with their coaches, and some of that may determine the pricing on it. But also, is if you notice, like we tore all the roof deck up on this thing, we, you know, fixed all this stuff. The extras we had on this was, what were the extras we had? I don't think we had any extras now that I'm thinking about it. So what you see that we did on this job is pretty much a standard type of installation that we do. We rip up the decking, we inspect all up underneath there, get rid of, take the insulation out, inspect everything. And that little repair that we did down there, that was so easy and quick. We didn't charge the customer for that. That was just too simple to do, so it just wasn't even worth it. But like I said, this is standard for us. Protecting the wires, taping up the duct lines, that is in the considered standard work order. So all of that'll, some people ask, hey, do you do this, you do that? Yeah, we don't break it down, that's just normal. You bring your coach in, we're gonna rip the roof off, and we're gonna inspect it. Now, the caveat to that is on some other jobs that we've done, like Class A's or certain Class C's, they have a ply foam roof, and we can't get down to the ductwork because it's built in. We can't get to the wires because they're hidden in the foam. So we do redeck those. So it's a little different of a caveat on that. But otherwise, like I said, on here, we want to make sure everything's done properly before we just send it out the door. So again, we appreciate y'all watching. And again, if you got any questions or anything, there's all our information that I showed you. And just reach out to us. We'll be glad to help you out. So I had mentioned the standard of our installation and so forth, the way I did it, there was no extras. The only extras we had on here were the metal roofs for the slide out. So I just wanted to get that in there. But the actual roof, the main roof, that's the standard protocol. Care package. Right. So in our care package, we have caulking, we got primer, we have got 2 patches. Those are heat patches. We got a patch peel and stick patch. We got a checker tool. We've got a magnet. And the rest of this is just pens, keychains, brush, nozzle. Okay, so if we have a hole in the roof, it will simulate a hole. You can do hole simulations. We say we got a hole there. Here's your tree branch come through and you're like, oh man, I got a hole in my roof, it's leaking. So what you want to do, and it's raining out. Right now it's raining, you're like, crap, I gotta stop that leak. You want to get in there, and if you can't get that nozzle in there, don't worry about it. Make it a little bigger. What you try and do, you need to get up underneath the roofing, like this. This is what we need to do, get up underneath the roofing. Then you're going to take and you're going to put this up inside there, and you're going to squeeze, 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 squeeze. Hopefully this thing is plugged up. There it goes. You squeeze, squeeze. You want to try and get up underneath this part too. Squeeze up underneath there. Get some more underneath there. Well, we are getting this thing all boogered up. Then what we're going to do, you're going to push it together. See how it oozes out? That's sealed. You're done. This is a moisture cured product. So what? It's a hot mess. Looks terrible. Who cares? Keep the water out. So now, the next day, we're going to go up there, and that's going to be cured looking like that. So we're going to take a knife, and you just shave it down. Just shave it down with a knife. I'm just going to obviously wipe this off. Now you say, hey, I want something a little better than that. So what we're going to do is get some cleaner. This is a terrible rag. You got another one. You got one on you? Oh, get a rag, get a rag, get a rag, get a rag, get a rag. What are you talk about, man? Nope, just leave it alone. Oh, leave it alone right now. We're recording now? Are we on?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Alright, so now we cleaned it off with a knife. I just washed that off because it's still wet. Take that off. So now we got a patch. This is a peel and stick patch. We're going to take that, we're going to center it over there. Just take a pen and go around like this. I like to kind of put a dash like that so I know who's where, what, and where, and how. So now there's what I got. So in the package we got primer. We also have a brush. You're going to take that, you're going to go all inside the square. You're also going to go outside this square about 3/8 of an inch. Outside about 3/8 of an inch or so. Once you get that, there's a film on the back. You peel the film, now you know which side you are, see, because there's your marks. and you peel that film back. Get the fingers in there to get the film off of this thing. This is just a regular roof tape. That's all it is. We put them in all the care packages. Get that daggone thing off of there. Probably need some fingernails. Probably help. Come on. There it is. Okay. Oop, hit, there it is. Now you got the film. We take that film. So now we're going to line it back up with this. We already got the primer under there. You just peel the film back, and as you do, you just rub it down like this. Sometimes that film will get a little stuck in there. This is just a butyl. You just kind of try to keep it as even as you can and flat as you can. Boom, you're done. There it is. So now, out here, this is where your primer is. You put the primer on there. You got primer there, and now you're going to put primer here. You want to prime all this area with your brush. Prime all that. Then you're going to come back. Once you get it all primed, then you're going to put a little bit of caulking on it, just like this. That simple. It doesn't all sit in there. You can always take your finger and go around it if you want. We're trying to obviously stop a leak and make one of. There's going to be a little more permanent of a patch than just that plug that we did when it was raining. So now that we get that all done, the whole purpose of it is this part here. This part underneath here, that's a butyl. When the sun hits that, if you didn't have the caulking on there, it will cause it to release and curl up just like I'm doing here. And it'll start coming loose. That's why you need the primer. That's why when you prime it, you're going to prime on top of this because nothing will stick to it. Nothing, the caulking will not stick to this patch and it won't stick to the roof unless you use the primer. That's how you do a patch. Ta-da! All done.